Hey, friends, and welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and today I have a special guest. Molly is a Master Coach Instructor and founder of Holistic Master Coach Training inside the Masterful Coach Collective. She helps coaches develop superior coaching skills so they can guarantee results for their clients while designing a simple, profitable business model. She believes that you can coach more, market less, and create the ideal quality of life that you desire. Molly is a seven-figure business builder, proud mom of three, top 3% podcaster, and the best-selling author of The Happy Mom Mindset. So, today we are going to learn a few things. We're going to dive into a simple and powerful framework that leverages four fundamentals that Molly has discovered and will share with us, why most personal growth tools just don't stick, and how those four fundamentals are going to be different to help you. And finally, how coaches and entrepreneurs can use the fundamentals, not just for themselves, but to create better client results and a far more aligned business. So let's dive in. Molly, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Uh, I am fascinated with these four fundamentals. Can you tell me a little bit, like, how did you happen on them? How did you come to this understanding?
hmm So, when I first became a coach, I entered the coaching world um, looking at mindset coaching, really understanding the power of our thoughts, understanding that the way we think impacts the way we feel, that it drives our actions, and really understanding the power in shifting perspective. And this was a very powerful thing when I discovered it. And that was where I started with coaching. And then start to move forward and I start building my business and I begin also doing contract work and training coaches in this mindset approach, this methodology. And what I start to notice is that while mindset work is powerful, when used in isolation, meaning when we're saying it's all about our thoughts, it's all about your mindset, not only is that not true, and not only is it not necessarily always effective, but it can actually push people backwards. It can actually be a bit detrimental to our progress. And so, having said that, as I moved forward and wanted to continue to find what was effective for me and for my clients, and I had some personal experiences of my own where I realized, okay, there's a lot more to this and I've got to know it. But that really opened up to me understanding more about our emotional world and why as coaches we need to understand emotions for the sake of emotions separate from mindset. I began to understand how our nervous system and the ways that we can have activation happening inside of us keep us from meeting the goals that we have, take away from our quality of life. Um, and also how practical, tangible, like plans of action we can give clients can be very powerful when supported with mindset, emotions, and nervous system resilience. So, all that being said, that's kind of it in a nutshell, but feel free to ask questions that it's really been a journey of being in it, in this world of coaching, training. I mean, literally thousands of coaches and working with clients to understand this more full picture of what we need as human beings to develop and grow.
Yeah. And so I really like this idea that there's more to it than just our thoughts. I am not saying that our thoughts are not important, not at all. But, and of course, there's that word but, behold the underlying truth is what but means, right? But there is a whole world outside of us. And it is very easy when we just do specifically mindset coaching to almost have people feel defensive because it can be almost like a victim blaming thing. If only I could just change my thoughts, then I wouldn't be experiencing this. Yet there is so much more to life. You know, there is systemic inequality in the world. There are people who have far more and people who have far less. And that definitely influences the quality of your thoughts. So while thoughts are so important, there is other things involved there too. And especially given that so much of our thoughts are unconscious, right? Like it takes a while for these thoughts, these unspoken beliefs to come forward. So I really find mindset is important, perspective, 100%. And I like this feeling of like making sure that we're really in tune with our emotions as well.
Hmm.
So before we go any further, can you just outline the actual four fundamentals? You've talked about the concept around it, but just something that we can go on would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one is mindset mastery because our thoughts absolutely matter. We all have thought patterns. We recycle the same thoughts over and over again. And when we can shift the way we're thinking, when we can have new frameworks in our mind of how we think, it is a game changer, truly. So, mind mastery is number one of four. In no particular order, by the way. This is just how I list them out.
Okay.
Number two is emotional resiliency, also talked about somewhat as emotional intelligence. And the way that I teach emotional resiliency is, I think that sometimes we can hear that someone is resilient and we think of someone who's tough or strong or has this grit and can kind of get through things no matter what. And while there is a lot of value in being able to have grit, when I'm talking about emotional resiliency, I'm actually talking about a process of working with my clients to truly be with and understand the emotions that come up within them because we are we are almost like almost exclusively trained to deny our feelings, push our feelings away, try to outthink our feelings, and it's just not useful. And the truth is that it's leading to a mental and emotional health crisis because we're treating emotions as if they don't matter, when actually they do. So, all this being said, when I'm talking about emotional resiliency, I'm really talking about this process of connecting with ourselves emotionally, understanding our needs, understanding what we want, understanding who we are, and having self connection to the degree that we can more easily navigate challenges, not by toughening up. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of the emotional resiliency piece.
Yeah, very much. I like that. There's an emotional literacy piece to it, as well as using your emotions to understand who you really are and what you desire. And that has
Yes.
so much influence on the kinds of lives that we want to create, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think we can, walk through life just in our head thinking about what would be a good idea or what should I do, but when we drop down and we really understand who we are and what we want and what our purpose is, that's a soulful way of living. And we it's important. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so number three is nervous system awareness. And this is where we need to understand the nervous system is like the backdrop of all of our thoughts and emotions. And, kind of going back to what you were saying a few minutes ago when you said, I'm not saying mindset isn't important, right? But there's a lot outside of us as well. And what I thought of and what I would add to that is there is a lot inside of us as well. Meaning when the minute that you and I, the minute that Candy and I came on this Zoom together, our nervous systems were meeting each other first. And Candy's nervous system was kind of putting feelers out to understand, is this a safe person? Right? And my nervous system is doing the same thing. And so what we don't realize is that we all have a nervous system with unique imprints, and it impacts the way we think and it impacts the way we feel. And so that's number three is understanding and working with my clients to understand um, what kind of emotional triggers we have and how do we actually build a greater window of tolerance in our nervous system so we can navigate the ups and downs of life without staying stuck in a stress cycle.
I love that. And it sounds like there's a real focus there too on creating safety, creating safety
Yes.
for ourselves. And that was interesting. I like this point about, when we first meet somebody, like you and I just first met on Zoom a couple of minutes ago, is this somebody that I connect with? Is this somebody that I can
Mm-hmm.
have a good conversation with? And I hadn't thought about it in that way. That was
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on
My
to the next.
there Leah Davidson she's a nervous system expert and she teaches in my master coach training on the nervous system. And one of the things she says that I love is she always says, your nervous system enters the room before you do. It's the first filter that exists there. So
Right.
definitely we need to learn about our nervous system.
Nice.
So okay, so number four is action focused strategies that work. And so, what this means is sometimes a coach may just have plans of action, accountability. Those things can be helpful. However, they're only going to get you so far if your mindset or your beliefs about yourself or the emotions that you're having haven't caught up with where you're wanting to go, right? And so that's why so many people can have a plan or a checklist and we don't do it because we have to understand the numbers one, two, and three that I just talked about, right? To make it work. And and also if we get rid of the action plan, the tangible piece of it, this is where some coaches can experience their clients having shifts, having awareness, having light bulb moments, but then not really knowing where to go from there. And so I think having the right plan of action that is perfect for your type of client when combined with mind, emotion, and nervous system, that's when we can have truly a complete transformation where the human being we are working with is shifting and changing from the inside out and creating changes and results in their life that they love.
Yeah, I love that. Molly, I really like these four fundamentals and the way that you describe them, I can really see um, the integration of the parts. Like
Yes, that's right.
a real simple metaphor would be like four puzzle pieces, but it's more than that. It's more like where the fingers of the pieces come together and where they integrate together. There's so much overlap to understand and to
Mm-hmm.
leverage and to sort of absorb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can really see now as you describe this why no one is more important than the other. One doesn't come first and one doesn't
Absolutely.
come second because they all form part of a whole, right?
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things that I love about the training and mentorship that I do that includes these is that, we can learn each of these specialties individually. But then in my experience, coaches come and maybe they've had some somatic training, for example, or they've learned some mindset, for example. But it can be a struggle to understand how do they all fit together. And in truth, it's typically it's very nuanced. I can't give you an exact formula for any client that you're working with. However, as you learn these fundamentals and integrate them for you, having a more whole understanding of you, it allows us to really provide that whole person support for our clients.
Yeah. So, as you're describing this, what I'm thinking is that there's sort of two paths that we're going to be talking about here or continuing to talk about. And the first path is that in my world, coach always goes first. The coach is the one
Absolutely.
who grows, the coach is the one who integrates, who understands, who has their own personal growth path. And so we're having that conversation. But at the same time, we're having the conversation about a coach. How can I support my clients better? So, knowing that coach goes first, let's just stay on that path. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's it. When I'm in my with my coaches and they start their training, I always say, this is a you go first.
Yeah,
All of this apply. We're supporting you here, and then in turn you can support others. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I
I'm
love
I'm
it.
here for it.
Okay. So if I have a coach listening today and they
Mm-hmm.
are in that overwhelm, really stuck space, I see a lot of people who come into listening to this show and that I speak with, and when they arrive, they're so overwhelmed with all the inputs, with their decisions or lack of decisions. Where do they start in your four fundamental model?
Mm-hmm. So one thing I will say is that I have a clear answer for that. And before that, one thing I will say is that it's important for each of us to remember that we all speak a bit of a different language, right? And so for some people, um, they will do well to look at their mindset first or talk it out or journal, right? And so I say this to point out that as I'm talking about where to start, one of the key elements of this is really giving yourself as an individual the help you need to move forward specifically. But as far as, where we start, it's really about going inside and connecting with self. So if you're listening and you experience being overwhelmed more often than you would like, wondering where do I begin? Where do I start? What if this doesn't work? Just take a minute. Even you can pause this podcast and take a minute and just put your hands over your heart, on your chest, close your eyes, and just take a minute to notice what is it that you're really desiring to create. Because I think when we start a business, that's where we actually start, right? We feel this spark, this inkling of this is something that matters to me. And that drives us forward. And then before we know it, we've disconnected from that inside of us. And we're worrying about funnels and marketing content and sales. And this is kind of like what I was saying before, where we go in our head, right? And it's not to say that we don't solve those things, but there's a lot of power in anchoring yourself in what it is you really want and reminding yourself of how important that is. That is a very grounding experience. It will take you out of your head, into your body, into your soul. And oftentimes, that is where the clarity will flow from there.
Mm. So often that answer, we know the answer, but we have this, and we spoke about this just before we hit record, this permission desire.
Mhm.
We think we need the permission to do it the right way, as if there's only
Mhm.
one right way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And forgetting that there's many right ways, and
Mhm.
you will not know your right way or one of your many right ways if you don't know where you're
Mhm.
going, right? And
Mhm.
that's what you just described.
Yeah.
Like
Where
where?
you're going and why too. Like what is
Mm,
the
I
driving
love that.
force? And here's the other thing I'll say, it's all fine and dandy for me to say, put your hands on your heart and remember your why and everything's going to melt away. And yet, I also recognize this is why we do this work as coaches that there are going to be fears that come up. There are going to be limiting beliefs. It is going to feel scary for many people to just design a business in a field where there's no rules, right? How does this work? And so I want to recognize that and and here's what I'll say boldly, whether it's Candy, whether it's me or someone else, you absolutely have to have support
Hmm.
as you are building a business. We are not we are beings designed to connect. We are not here to figure everything out on our own. And and that is the reason that most coaches that begin a business will fail is because they don't have the right people surrounding them. They're not getting the right support. So it's crucial. We have to have that. And someone to remind us to continue to connect
Yeah.
inside, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And it all starts inside. It all starts with you.
Absolutely.
Like there's going to be people who listen to this conversation, and Molly, you're like they're going to be like, Molly, I have to talk to Molly. I have to get into her world. And then there's others that are going to be my kind of people.
That's
There's
right.
so many people in the world. This is, it may seem off topic, but I'm really curious about this. I'm just noticing that this has kind of been coming up throughout this conversation in the back of my mind. Coaching is a new field. Yeah, it's been around for 20, 25 years. I get that. But the possibility of what someone is able to create is really new, and a lot of it I believe
Mhm.
is a function of our evolution as humans and our society's ability to satisfy most of our physical needs. And so much
Mhm.
of the work that you're doing, it's creating this new path where there wasn't a language before.
Mhm.
And so it's the exciting piece, right? It's the scary
Mhm.
piece all at the same
Mhm.
time. And it really, so when you're describing people needing a mentor, somebody to work with, or a community around them, one additional reason is it's not just you, the person who needs the community, but also it's because this has never existed before. And so we create this new community. We create the new possibilities even better when we're within community. Have you seen this with your clients or have you experienced this yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I mean, you bring up such a good point that with this being new and people trying to figure it out and there being so many different types of coaches as well. Um, when we just the more we exchange ideas and energy, the better it is all going to be.
Mm.
And so yes, yes, the answer is yes, absolutely. I'm in several communities and I have a mastermind group. There's four of us. We are all, we have such different strengths and abilities. And it is when we come together and exchange those ideas and viewpoints that our ability to serve and help others is just expanded exponentially.
Mm. Yeah. That and the power of multiple people getting together, we can create so much more. There is, and that word creation, I think, is really important in the coaching world because
Mhm.
we are creating new things. And so it
Yes.
is an art form.
It
To coach
really
well
is.
is an art form, to create new ways of looking at humans and how they create their lives is a form, it's a creative expression.
It really is. And that's why my training and certification, I'm training people in these four fundamentals, and they're very specific things I teach. And it is equally mentorship. And for me, the mentorship piece is me helping my clients to understand their own gifts and bring them to the forefront because none of my clients that are trained with me, none of them coach the way that I do, thank goodness, right?
Mhm.
They
Right.
coach the way that they coach, and it's true what you said. It's an art form. It's almost like understanding the the art and beauty of us as human beings and how to be beside someone through their transformation in life, which is such an honor.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think every coach has that exact feeling, right? That it is such
Yes.
an honor to be beside our clients and to watch them grow and to support them and to hold that space for them. Mm, I love that.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have another question about the four fundamentals. And I have my opinion or thoughts on it, but I'm really curious to hear what your experience is.
Okay.
Which of those four fundamentals do you think is the most challenging for people to get? Like to really integrate.
You know, I here's what I would say right off the bat. I really think it depends. I do have an answer that I'm trying to think of just the right way to say this. Here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Number one, it definitely depends because certain people quickly understand some things faster than others, for sure. So for many clients where, they've lived a lot of life in their head as an achiever, the emotion piece is just, it's like a different language for them, right? And and then oftentimes when we're talking about the mind piece, especially if someone has experienced quite a bit of trauma, they're going to have rigidity in their thinking. And so that's going to be a very difficult thing for them until they've had more healing in their nervous system. So, having said all of that, I will speak to, I guess, the place that I really love to help my clients with, and that is the emotion space. Because the emotion space is one that can feel a little more ambiguous. It's kind of like when I say being with your feelings. Well, what does that even mean? How do we do that, right? Process the feelings, feel the feelings. And it truly is something in my experience that we need to experience and embody and practice again and again because we're taught as we go through life how to have a mind over matter approach, and we're taught to suck it up, but we're not really taught what it means to be with and care for our emotions and attend to our emotional needs. And that is what is lacking. That is what is most lacking. In fact, I was reading today, one of my clients shared this. It's the state of the heart. It's the 2024 report. This is the world's largest study of emotional intelligence. They've done this since 2011. And over the last what they said right front and center of this is we've entered a global emotional recession. And what we're seeing is the data shows that over the last 4 years, emotional well-being, emotional capacity, empathy, compassion, it is on the decline. And I think more than ever, that is why I am just so passionate about empowering these coaches and mobilizing them to help shift our emotional worlds because we need it.
Yeah. Yes, I am in the midst of reading a book, which the name escapes me. It's a new book by Lee Harris and a joint venture with another woman. It's a question and answer style book. And they said that the biggest thing that we need going forward and the biggest need for like careers, workers,
Mhm.
is to help people integrate their emotions. And that the
Yes,
people who are here to be heart centered, to learn how to stay in that place, that is the key that is going to transform this world. I
it's
don't
true.
care what your political view is, but be kind. Be open, be curious. Like we all get to have different opinions on things. That is a wonderful place to be. But when we get into this hardened state, that's the thing that eats
That's the
away at our
problem.
humanity.
Yeah. And there's so much healing that needs to happen for human beings,
Yeah.
period. There's just a lot of healing that needs to happen. And I think in some ways we're realizing that. I think we're realizing healing needs to happen. And, as you were talking about that book, I wanted to mention a very favorite book of mine. It's called Running on Empty: How to Overcome Your Childhood Emotional Neglect by Jonas Webb. It is such a fantastic book. And I got the book wanting to educate myself to help other people, only to find, oh, wow, this book is for me. And one of the things that I apologize for, this quote is not going to be exact, but I highly recommend that you go get the book. It's a must read, in my opinion. But she talks about how our, like, our emotions were were developed in us far before, long before thought, right? The emotion center of us as human beings was developed first. And our emotions are very much a part of, they are more a part of us than our thoughts. And I don't think that we think of our emotions that way. And she
Mm-hmm.
says something along the lines of, our emotions are as much a part of us as our fingernails and our elbows. Like they are that real inside of us. So anyway, it's a great book, and I really hope that we're understanding that we need to understand our emotional world a lot more.
Yeah. Wow. I'll definitely put the link for that in the episode notes as well. That speaks to me very much, and
Yeah.
I'll be reading that book too, for sure.
It's a great book. And I'm dying to have Jonas Webb on my podcast. So anytime I talk about her, I'm like, if you can hear this, please reach out to my team. I want to have a conversation with you because her work's been really life-changing for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, Molly, this has been a really incredible conversation. And when I think about how you describe the four fundamentals, I can really see the power in this system, this sort of synergistic power that it brings to work with coaches and to coaches' lives. I know that there are listeners who are going to want to know how to find out more about you. Could you share a little bit about that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a podcast, the Masterful Coach podcast. That's a great place to know more. Also, if you go to mollyclaire.com, very easy to remember, they can find out more about me. Master Coach Training 2026 is open for early enrollment. So if someone wants a deep dive into this, that is available. And I also have a membership where I do teach coaching mastery every month and also give business support and personal life coaching. So it's like a 3-in-1 membership. And there's more as well on my site, but that should give people a good direction to go.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed the conversation, and I know the listeners are going to love it as much as I did.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.